Oh yeah, in addition to working at Central Reach, I am a chairwoman of the board on the Standard Acceleration Society. I am also a former president, now just board member of the Board of Applied Behavior Analysis for the state of Nevada, which deals with licensure. And adjunct faculty for University of West Florida. I think those are all of my things.
So
Sometimes I forget.
you have 73 jobs.
Yes.
And also a mother to 3 children.
Yes. Yeah.
Who have all been being homeschooled for the
Well,
last 2 months.
I like to, I have some friends who legit homeschool, and I feel like what we're doing is not homeschool, because homeschooling is purposeful. They have like a classroom with structured curriculum and organized materials. What we're doing is duct taping. So like what we're doing is like some pulled together packet from the district. But you know what, like after like the first random ass week that the district did, like my children's teachers have been thoughtful and more individualized. And plus, given my husband and I's background, he's in the field as well, right. With precision teaching and stuff like that. We've been, we took a breath, collected ourselves, found a rhythm, and are being a little bit more purposeful with their education once we realized that this wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, I remember when my kids' districts first got canceled, I was talking to their dad, and he's like, well, hopefully they'll be able to go back before spring break. So, you take a week and I'll take a week. I was like, hey, that totally works for me. Let's do that, no problem. And it became very apparent within the first week of sheltering in place in the Bay Area, this was not going to go anywhere.
Not at all.
And in fact, I'm at this point now just hoping that in-person instruction for my kids will be able to start in August.
Yeah.
And
some are saying probably not even until January, which is actually making us think what next year is going to look like.
Yeah.
Right. So, and if we even looking at charter schools that maybe have curriculum that is more adapt to web-based. So like my daughter who's in 3rd grade now, her teacher had a lot of web-based curriculum already embedded into her classroom because she was like tech savvy and very science driven. But like public schools is kind of like based on the teacher that you're given sometimes. And so, there's just, it's like, well, is that going to be a shift that the whole district will take in looking at curriculum that is accessible remotely, as opposed to this random packet that says, go outside and draw a map of your neighborhood, Now, granted, that's like my kindergartner's work, and he was already at grade level or beyond. And like, we're not really worried about that. But like, with respect to education, like my husband and I feel okay with prepping our children for the academic side, especially with them being in early elementary. But it's this social emotional factor that our kids are missing. It's the, problem resolution with their peers. It's learning to, my son has an active body, if I can put it that way. Like, he has stretched out so many shirts because he finds ways to insert his whole body into his t-shirt, right? He rocks in his, bar stool. We have like, our kitchen table is like our extended countertop.
I know, I've seen it on Facebook. Yeah,
exactly. So he has flopped over in that bar stool because he will go back on 2 legs with it, right? So, and so he was doing better with learning how to sit at a desk. And granted, I can also make the case that he's in kindergarten, he shouldn't have to sit, but thus is, the state of our education. But now he's like, I wonder, has he lost that, the progression that he's made with learning that skill in the context of a classroom and listening to the teacher and not blurting out and raising his hand and not trying to be the class clown because he wants to make friends. Like some of these social emotional pieces and, that he's not getting I mean, we're doing what we can in the context of our family unit, but it's a different level in the context of friends and a teacher and stuff like that, you know, that he's missing out on. So whereas we can supplement academically, not a problem, there's pieces that we can't provide for him when he's at home.
Sure.
And that's the piece that I'm worried about, that he's missing, or that all of our kids are missing, right, for not being there. Or that when we do go back, that those pieces are going to be jeopardized, because now it's like, if you play on a playground, you have to stay in your own box because you can't play with this person. Like, I get that we need that for safety, but then, oh, what does that play situation look like for our kids? That's really funky. So I want us to be safe, but then does that mean that that's the right time for us to go back into that situation? Like, I don't have the answers, but those are just the questions that keep on coming up in my head about, like, that's a really funky time. So.
Yeah, and I think because my kids are a little older, it's like dealing with different things, because your kids are younger, and so it's also just looking at, gosh, what is the impact of being able to potentially not learn some of these like kind of basic skills that you're learning in kindergarten and first and second or third grade. And obviously you and Ethan are in a different position because of the work that you do. Many parents aren't, but as you stated, the social emotional piece, you're like, we can't replicate that.
Right.
Simply because we also can't, create that environment and have that context. And then for my kids, I've been fine with like the fact that essentially, they're in I would not call what I do homeschooling whatsoever.
Right.
I call what most of the things that they're doing is, occasional Zooms for interaction and just kind of like maintenance of skills. I don't think that we're really increasing our knowledge base tremendously in any subject matter.
Yeah.
But part of what I've been trying to do with my kids, and I think it's been a struggle with so many families, and I'm interested to hear what you've done with your family, is how much flexibility do you build in to kind of your typical schedule, just to kind of allow for the fact that like all of this is weird. And we need to, perhaps be willing to allow, for example, kids to have more screen time than they might be. And, whereas I really wanted to, stay strong in terms of like limiting that and making that contingent on, doing certain things. Do I create some, non-contingent opportunities? But I also don't want my kids to forget about like what it means to, like follow a schedule, wake up on time, to get ready, to go to school and to have, the fluency of those routines. And how have you and Ethan kind of made those decisions in terms of like, how hardcore do we stay with our kids? Or, because I remember at the beginning of all this quarantine, like I saw people posting like their color-coded schedules.
Oh yeah, totally.
And this is, what we're doing, and this is how we're building in like all of this, active learning and like individual learning. And I was just like, I just can't even deal with it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I think we found like we're in a happy medium. So, we've never been one, even when like it was baby time, right? When you have like an infant and you're following like a schedule, we never did like a very like specific schedule. What we do is like more of a routine, if you will, right? And so, and allow flexibility, because you're right. I think we need to remember that we ourselves are going through something that's really funky right now, that's really unique, and that we're probably like are experiencing stressors that we can't even identify. And that even more so our kids are experiencing this.
And they really can't identify them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like they haven't practiced identifying those things. They haven't developed those executive functioning skills in order to regulate those type of things. So like, I think it's hard for them. And so like my husband, like I work East Coast hours. So I wake up, I start working at 6, I'm done at 2, and then I'm able to be mom. So my husband deals with the kids. And so for me, I'm a little bit more routine than my husband. So he provides the flexibility and I provide more of the structure. So we blend it to provide kind of a routine. And so what we do is, and I have to say that our kids are great in that I can't say that the credit is us. My daughter, who's 8, her nickname is Squish. Sometimes when I say that,
I'd like to know where that comes from. You definitely have to tell the origin story of Squish.
Okay, so she was 9 pounds when she was born, and then she just had these cheeks, and then she would like scrunch up her face, and then when she was hungry, she would actually make sounds of a pig. So at first I would call her like Pigs, but that didn't stick, and so then finally it was Squishy, which then it was Squish. And then when I was pregnant with my son, whose name is Drazen, which is named after a basketball player, Drazen Petrovic, my husband loved him. So I picked her Squish's real name is Kaylin, which is my maiden name. And then Squish couldn't say his name, so out came Dachi when she was trying to pronounce Drazen. So that's how he got his nickname.
Oh my gosh.
And then for Micah, she's just Micah. So
she's like a Micah in the middle.
Right, yeah, exactly. So yeah, so Squish was just because she was like, and just chunky, but she loves it. Like, she never and still has yet to, thank God, absorb the insecurities of us as females to have Squish mean something negative.
Yeah.
She loves it. She's like, feels empowered by it, which is great. And so, when she went to school, like now her friends at school call her Kaylin, but they know her nickname Squish. So she kind of goes by both.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Squish. So that's.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
Definitely worth it.
So she wakes up in the morning. She's great. She wakes up. She doesn't even come down yet for breakfast. She wakes up. She hops on the computer. She does her assignments. She does all that she can do independently. Then she comes down and she eats breakfast. And then she knows, like, we tell her, these are the things that you need to do. And then you can have like tablet time.
Yeah.
And so then that's kind of like, it manages itself. And so that's great. And so my husband, he's like a night owl. And so by the time he wakes up, like around 9 o'clock, then he comes down, he checks in with her, and then they finish whatever she needs to do. And then she's kind of, to be honest, like done for the day of assigned work from her teacher. And then like we started being like, okay, you can earn extra time by reading a chapter in this book, by doing these chores, and so all that stuff is just bonus outside of her extra school work. Then when my husband's done with her, then it's Drazen's turn, and he's kindergarten, so he needs like assistance, but so they do whatever's prescribed from the packet, but then he's also found love in like some of my daughter's internet activities that her teacher prescribed. And it's like this online game called Prodigy, so you have to like solve these math problems, but it's an RPG game, right? So you have to like go through these worlds and slay this monster by solving math problems, right? And so it's like, he's all into video games. He's all into Mario. He's all into Minecraft. So it's just the best of both worlds. So he's just asked, can I play Prodigy? Can I play Prodigy? I'm like, yeah, you can totally do that and learn math. And there you go, right? So, granted, it's not, frequency like building, but yeah, do it. Get exposure with those things. And then, if you need bump up in some of these areas, then we can do that ourselves, right? But it's great because he's just occupied by himself and we don't have to be right there on him. And then the hard one is our 4-year-old. So while my husband's over here with the older kid or over here with Drazen, right? It's the 4-year-old. So she's the one who has a little bit too much tablet time. So it's like finding an activity of saying like, you do this, well, I'm going to go over here and work on their work, right? Or work on their homework with you staying on doing this learning activity and without like grabbing a tablet. or needing to watch educational games. So it's like turning the tablet activity into something that's educational. So there's like these educational apps like Endless Reader or Endless Numbers that like have you match up the letters phonetically, or so it's like a matching thing, but then they say the letters phonetically, or some numeration games, or like handwriting activities on the tablet, or if it is watching something on TV, it's like Moomy Zoomy, where they're doing patterns or something that it's a little bit more active, where she's not just turning into a zombie, because she will watch unicorn cupcake activities for like 5 hours in a row if you let her.
Or like Blind Love on Netflix.
Yeah, that's what I would watch after working. I would have a glass of wine. And Costco has these chocolate covered macadamia nut caramel clusters. That was the month of April.
I feel like everyone's been able can like identify like their quarantining experience based on a couple of things. So based on if they've decided to bake goods, like how deep have they gone into like their baked good phase?
I haven't done that, yeah.
Or if they've decided, to kind of like have like some special like quarantine food items, like how many times they've had to like repurchase them.
Right.
And then what is it called like right now, like the COVID-19, like instead of like the freshman.
Right, yeah, totally. Yeah, I had to stop. I was like, okay, it's a little too much wine, and a little too much chocolate covered macadamia nuts. I had to tell my husband, stop buying those from Costco.
Yeah.
May 1, it's like hard-boiled eggs, salmon salad, and we'll keep the wine, but maybe not as much.
Yeah, I had to put myself on a quarantine vodka schedule, and I'm allowed to have 3 a week.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I get to decide what days I want to have them,
Yep.
but then it's only 3.
Yep.
And then that's it.